Well, welcome to another edition of the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV on YouTube. For those that are catching up on iTunes and Spotify, don't worry, we've not forgotten about you, and we appreciate you listening and streaming the show as a podcast on those platforms. But we are here on YouTube, and yeah, we're heading towards the end of the year, and probably next week we'll probably do our heroes and villains of 2022 and look towards what hopefully is going to be, you know, a prosperous and very entertaining rugby league calendar in 2023. Hope you're well, Craig. Hope you're well, Joe. I've been missing in action last week. I'm feeling a lot better now, so hopefully we can try and paint you a lovely picture of what's been going on in the world of rugby league. I'll just quickly start with IMG and a bit of an update that we had last week on a media call with the chairman, Frank Slevin, who spoke really, really well. I did say this to the RFL, you know, it's refreshing to have a different voice, a different face, new ideas. I'm not entirely certain Frank knows just how much of a mess the sport is in terms of what's needed to change, but to hear him, you know, talk quite passionately.
Who's Frank Mick? Who
Frank
is
Slevin is now the chairman of the RFL commercial. So
from where? Where's he come from?
He's come from the banking sector. We did a bit a few months ago when he got announced, but he was really eloquent and, you know, like I said to the RFL, interesting that you've got a different perspective on obviously what needs to be done. So yeah, basically the latest is, and this has been told to the clubs, so it's nothing that the clubs don't know, that obviously IMG, they're going to release the gradings, they're going to release the criteria, which ultimately leads to the gradings in February. So they're currently working through that. I asked Frank, you know, how close is it going to resemble the current RFL ROI model, which obviously the Championship and League One clubs have had for a number of years now, unfairly in my opinion, because you've got to do the Super League as well as Champ and League One, because everybody's being penalised. And he says a lot of those aspects of ROI will transfer over into the criteria. So for instance, data, social media numbers, web hits, our league figures, crowds, they're going to look at 2019 and last year, 22, because obviously they can't include 2020 and 21 because of COVID. Finance, again, turnover, how financially prudent is your club? We've had the report this week about only one club, Wakefield, making profit. The rest of them, combined losses of over £10 million. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Broadcast is obviously another column, what they're going to be monitored on. TV picks, viewing figures when you're on TV. So if you are a club that attracts the eyeballs, that is what IMG want. That is what is going to drive the money. You are going to be in the new top flight. We know it's no longer going to be called the Super League, so, you know, I'm just going to refer to it as the Rugby League top flight. Obviously, they're going to come up with new branding, new ideas.
Does that get hit in 2025 then, the new branding, or will that be done a year before?
No, that'll be 25. Everything's building towards 25, Joe, where they go, bang, Super League's gone, bit the dust. Here we go, we've had 30 years of Super League. This is our new Premier top flight competition. So, what that's going to be, I do not know. I just know that Super League has... When you say Super League, it's been diluted. You think women's netball, there was the case study IMG did. People that went round various parts of the country, Super League, more people associate Super League with women's netball than Rugby League, which just shows you where Super League, in terms of Rugby League, is. It's, you know, below netball in that public consciousness. Obviously, if you're in Leeds or Huddersfield, Super League is Rugby League, but if you're in Manchester or Sheffield, it's women's netball, and those are big cities. You know, that's what they were trying to do. Obviously, on the back of broadcasters' governance, that's looking at your whole club, your staff, your support, your player welfare officers. So they're hoping by July, so this coming July, that is when there's going to be the provisional grading. So that's when the clubs know where they are and where there is going to be the room for improvement. And this is where, in my opinion, Craig, the shit will hit the fan. Because what Frank and IMG are saying is there's only 4 A clubs. There's 14 Bs. 18 into 12 means 6 miss out. We know there's 4 A's, so that means 14 into 8. You still got 6 missing out. Now, that's the lie of the land at this moment in time. And the big rumour is there's a championship club that will be replacing a current Super League club. So imagine it gets to July. We know this is only provisional, but this is the dry run. This is the dummy run ahead of the real thing going live in 24. You're a chairman, and this I'm just trying to paint a scenario here, Craig. This is what the word on the street is. There is going to be at least one current Super League club coming out, and that'll be replaced by a championship club. Imagine you're the chairman of that Super League club. You're doing your damnedest to improve standards. You know, I was talking to a Super League chairman a couple of days ago. I need to be careful what I say here, not to give it away, but basically we're talking about improving infrastructure and trying to improve facilities. But this is what IMG said. They're not going to put a club in because they've got a fancy new stand or they've got a fancy new ground. They're looking at the data, the crowds, the finance, the broadcast, the governance. They're looking at what is actually going to grow the sport. Yes, you could have an all singing and dancing brand new 5,000 seater stand or 20,000 capacity stadium. But if you don't have the fans, you're not actually growing the game, and your governance and finances and your data's not there in terms of your social media, your web hits, your hour league numbers, then you're not going to be coming in because that's only going to be a very small slice of that pie. But, you know, I would not want to be one of the... I think if we're being honest, we can probably pinpoint the 4 bottom Super League clubs most at risk of dropping out. But, yeah, July is good. This coming July, Craig, 23 July, is when the reality is going to hit, where you're going to have the championship clubs, those strong championship clubs, getting those B grades, and you're going to have those lower Super League clubs getting those B grades. And this is the key point that Frank made on the call. There's going to have to be some markings in terms of like how they get the marks. So for instance, for crowds, there's going to have to be an average crowd gets you this many points, an average crowd gets you that many points. You know, because they have to do it fairly, and that's the reservation a lot of the Championship and League One clubs have at this moment in time, that this won't be done fairly and it'll still favour the Super League clubs. But, you know, to be fair to IMG, they've said, come February, the criteria, it's all going to be out there in the public domain. Everybody's going to get to see it. So it's not going to be like when we've had mini licensing processes and we've had to rely on leaks within the RFL to send us, you know, the documents and stuff and other clubs. You know, this is all going to be put out there so everybody knows what the clubs are being marked on, which will be data, crowds, finance, broadcast, governance. I tell you what, exciting times, but also worrying times. I don't know what that hell. I don't know. I know. I'm looking into the future here in the crystal ball, Craig. I don't know what that does for agents. If you've got one of those lower Super League clubs and they're about to find out that they're no longer in the Super League and they're dropping back into what will be the new second division. I mean, it's exciting times for the championship clubs because if you're one of the high-end championship clubs and you're replacing them, I guess that sport, that cycle.
Is the tier 2 going to be part-time?
It's going to pretty much run as it currently is now, Craig.
Part-time or full?
There's going to be no obligation to be full-time, so it will be part-time, yes. Unless you've got a wealthy owner who wants to pump the money in and invest. I mean,
and how long's the gap if you've got B licensing? How long is it the gap?
A year. If
every year you can apply?
Yes, so if you are a B licensed club, of which currently in the Super League there are 8, so those are not guaranteed to be in Super League every year. Those are going to have to reapply every year. But on the back of the snapping at their coattails, you've got 6 from the Championship that are Bs.
Really?
It's exciting times.
But let's start off with the top. So we've got Super League top tier, Super League, we'll say 2 tier. Let's just put it to that. I don't know what you're going to call it. If I'm away King Cass, Salford, Huddersfield, okay, and I think that I could be going to Super League 2, as instance, tier 2.
Yeah, tier 2.
That would mean then I'd go from a full-time club to a part-time club unless my owner says we can carry on being full-time based on the figures we've got.
Yeah.
Got you. So ultimately, the decisions that are made will be whether 4 or 5 of them clubs are going to be overtaken by a development club such as York, such as a Bradford historic club like Bradford, a development club like Newcastle if they wanted him, but Newcastle obviously on that criteria, Newcastle don't hit any of them.
No. Newcastle, sadly, they'd fail on the data, the crowds, probably the broadcast as well, but, finance and governance, Newcastle financially...
Yeah, Jordan would argue that they, in the World Cup... I mean, Jordan had a right go at it last week, and he proper give a good debate. Jordan was saying, don't the game want this? Then I said to Jordan, your problem for Newcastle at the moment is you've not got enough achievement for me on the field, and they're pulling back finances, so I think that's even worse. So I think there'd be such a risk to say to Newcastle, right, go into that Super League top tier and suddenly be able to compete when you didn't. Historically, you didn't win Champ 1, you got put up by voluntary whatever. You finished bottom 3 last year, you're probably going to finish bottom 3 or 4 this year. That's me being brutally honest as I say it. And they've chose to pull the finances back. I thought it was the wrong move. I thought if Newcastle look at what you're telling us and said, let's just get everything up, the social media up, the achievements up, this up, the finances are there. If the guy had said, listen, we've got the finances in place, Newcastle would have put major pressure on the 4 of the 5 clubs, your Wakey, your Cass, whatever it's going to be. And we could pick loads out there. I keep saying, somebody said the other day, you keep having to go at Cass. I love Cass. But we know Cass are one of them historically where the finances are quite good. Mark runs a tight ship. I don't know what did Cass lose on this?
I did.
We just know they lost.
I just know the overall figure.
Yeah, we know they definitely
outside
lost.
of Wakefield was over £10 million.
Right, so historically Cass don't lose
well,
that
if you
much.
if you just do it as an average, Craig, each Super League club's losing over £1 million a year.
Yeah. Well, I doubt Cass had lost that. I think 2 or 3 of the top ones. I've heard Saints, Wigan, some of the top ones have took some major leads, have took some major hits, which the smaller clubs won't lose that much, I tell you now, because they don't play off the...
No, I know, but I was just going to averaging it out.
So looking at basically what you're saying is probably 4 or 5 clubs in Super League who are not guaranteed A licence are going to be in the shit till next year, not knowing what they're doing.
Correct.
And then you've got your top 4 or 5 champ clubs who are going to be looking up thinking, I could actually get there if I can achieve. And if you look at who's done the signings this year...
Well, they've been told, Craig, they need to be in that top 4.
Well, no, it's a funny one.
For competitiveness on the field, they've been told you need to be in that top 4.
See, that's interesting. I'm so pleased you've said that.
Because one Super League chairman actually said to me on WhatsApp, he said, well, Bradford, could this finish 4th next year? And because of the crowds and because of this, that and the other, the academics and the homegrown and da-da-da, he says he could foresee Bradford ticking enough boxes with the academy and the homegrown.
What about the ground though, Mick?
And the data.
Can
I just say something, Craig?
Will they spend money on the ground?
Can I just say something now? Nothing in the current criteria says anything about the ground. And this is the argument I had with the Super League chairman who was saying, well, we're going to build this stand, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I'm like, the payoff from doing that will come in the finance, but there's going to be a natural delay. You build a new 5,000 stand, or you build a new 10,000 stadium to replace, say Castleford build a new 10,000 stadium, all singing and dancing, modern facilities. There's going to be a delay because your finances are delayed by the financial year. So it's not going to be an overnight thing, and this is what I was trying to say. IMG, there's nothing from what IMG have said which says, you build a fancy new stand, you build a fancy new ground, you're in. No, there's nothing whatsoever in the criteria about the stadiums. It comes down to crowds and obviously finance. And if you're playing in a wreck or a crumbling remnant of a stadium of yesteryear, then obviously that's going to affect your crowds, it's going to affect your finance. But yeah, there's nothing in that criteria about stadiums.
It's funny because looking at this, obviously, when did this get announced? Was it last week or the week before now, Mick?
It would have been Monday.
Oh, this Monday?
Last Monday,
Last Monday, yeah. Because from last Monday, it's quite funny. I've seen one club try to maximise, I think, all of this I'm gonna go London from what I've seen on social media because they're trying to. London and out, in my view, last season were notoriously quite bad. I'll be honest, bad at the social media side, and I was always like, come on, they should. From Monday, they've been tweeting out every day, every single package. They've given a deal for the crowds. That season ticket holders, it's only like 20 up, so they're trying to increase the crowds. They've announced finance. They're trying to do. So they're obviously read this and gone. Let's get it on. So
well, that's good.
No, it's brilliant. That's what I'm not insulting
if every club realise this is where they're going to be looked at: data, crowds, finance, broadcast, governance. Again, Frank said. There might be, I know Jimmy made the point, he's in Australia by the way. Jimmy, if you're watching, you're very lucky. There might be geographical location added in, but because this is pretty much the template for what they are going to be chosen on. There is nothing in there about fancy new stands and fancy new grounds.
Well, we've got it, yeah.
You could have a club playing in a 20,000 capacity stadium and it could have the biggest whatever HD 4K 8K scoreboard.
Newcastle.
If there's nobody turning up, Craig, and they don't have the fans, they don't have the data, they don't have the finance, they're not giving value to a broadcaster in terms of viewing figures.
London,
when that club's on TV.
London historically are inept and everything there. And have been for 10 years. Where London have always got away with it is people say they want London in because of the geographics of having a London club.
I suspect IMG do want London in because they when we were showing the presentation, I've said this time and time again, London, there were.
Well, because I'm saying about London, I've been following the social media. They've been tweeting. I think they've got 2 or 3 homegrown players that are playing. They've tweeted them out 3 or 4 times. Look at I think. It might be Rian, I apologise. They've shown Rian throwing these passes looking good. They've showing all the play. They've obviously got that template, to be fair to them, and gone, all right, this is exactly what we're going to try and hit.
Yeah.
They've not messed anything about. They've not tried to do it.
But you'd have to take, so what you're saying there is this is what the problem is.
Well, I think that's
previously they've had 3-year history. London are starting afresh then, because if you look at if they take London. Historically, over the last 5 years, you won't put London in tier 1.
Right.
London had been miles below because the crowds have gone to minimum. The everything they've done on what you're saying, the data, the this, that has all been shocking.
Yeah.
So now, are they allowed to get on the dance floor now and we can start dancing?
I think so. Yeah, of course.
Oh wow.
The 4A clubs, we don't know, but I would bet my life savings are Leeds, Wigan, St Helens, and Warrington.
Yeah.
Those are the 4As. So when you look at a Hull FC, they've not been given an A. The Catalans haven't been given an A. That's scary times because no offence to a Salford, an UKR, a Castleford, or a Wakefield, but I'm just saying you've got Catalans light years ahead of some of those clubs I've just mentioned.
Well, KR, what they've announced this week on the back of this, then KR are the biggest search you've ever seen.
No,
They just announced three people who. The investment's gone in for 100 million. They've got capacity for 1,000. They're very good off the field, has been for the last 3 years, and Paul's been there. They've got historically better. They cross all the boxes social media. They're quite good on the social media. There's nothing I can see on Mick's list what wouldn't make KR. They get one of the most members, so they get members. Do you understand that? Their supporters pay a monthly fee.
Yeah.
I think theirs is the highest monthly fee in Super League, so they historically have got the crowds at home, they travel away, they would be massive, and I think, did we say, when they were on Sky last 2 years, KR have got some of the most biggest figures on Sky.
The whole derby.
So they are probably pushing that along, listen.
Well, again, that goes down to broadcast, Craig. Viewing figures when you're on TV. Because that's what IMG.
So KR would be a cert then, wouldn't
they? They want the clubs that are going to bring in the TV figures.
No one's a cert, they're all in B.
But if you look at the 14 Mix put in B, who's going to beat UKR?
No, well, that's what I'm trying to say.
No, not many.
Hull, listen, this is the point I was trying to say.
It's the 2 Hull teams.
This is the point I was trying to say. This is how tough it is going to be for a championship club to break in. The championship clubs are going to have to target your Castlefords, your Salfords, your Wakefields, because if we are saying your top 4, the only 4A clubs are St Helens, Wigan, Leeds, Warrington, and then you're a Halifax, a Bradford, a York, a London, a Newcastle, a Featherstone going up against a Hull FC, a Catalans,
KR, Huddersfield, Salford.
Huddersfield. You can see where it's coming. You can see where it's coming. Which is why, when IMG were hinting that there'll be, currently, there's going to be the one change, which, if you want my honest opinion, I think it'll be probably Wakefield out and probably York in.
Well, even though Wakey doing the new ground.
But this is the point, Craig. There's nothing on the criteria.
But Wakey'd still beat York on that. A lot of them criteria, but they're not.
On finance, obviously, they've said.
Look, I'm not attacking Wakefield. I'm not singling out
No,
Wakefield.
forget about that. We're only talking honest.
Yeah,
Listen, Hull historically are a massive club. Hull will be there because they've got that much history behind it, and they can still get the biggest crowd.
100%.
And they've got the new academy. They wanted us to go down and see it. They reckon it's outstanding.
The challenge for both Hull clubs is to turn that strong B into an A.
Yeah.
So then you've got 6.
But we'd be there would be no, if they took the old derby out, it's probably the biggest thing we've got to sell Sky at the moment. They're both in. Mark my words.
Yes.
They're in.
Yeah, I don't think we're debating.
We're not debating that. I'm
So
debating
you're
the lower
down
end
to
Super League clubs.
Yeah.
And
So
your
let's be
top eight
honest. Then you're saying you're
Championship
down to Salford, Wakey, and Cass.
Probably your 3 vulnerable
Let's talk
clubs,
honest.
yeah.
You're saying it's down to them 3. Cass
Lee are in there.
and Lee.
Well, you would have to put Lee in there, yes, as well. Purely because, obviously, every time, I know this year it's going to be different on the field because they're expending and they probably are going to stay up, in my opinion. I'll make that call now.
Wow.
Albeit they'll be in that bottom 4 battle with your Salfords, your Cass and Wakefields.
You put Salford in the bottom 4?
Yes.
I think the fans will get sad about that one.
It's fine. I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve, and that's what I'm saying. I'm saying your bottom 4 next year.
But where does it
Cass,
say?
Salford, Lee,
Where does it
Wakefield.
say anybody's bothered whether in bottom 4? Is there anything on that?
What do you mean?
Is any
That was just
criteria?
a quick comment about the league.
No, I'm asking Mick. Where on there does it say criteria about the bottom 4? So it don't matter. Does it not matter if they finish in bottom 4?
I think Mick's categorising bottom 4 as the lower earning, the lower.
For on-field performances, the championship clubs have been told if you're in that top 4 this year, that will count towards extra.
What about the bottom 4 of the top one? Does that count?
No, because they're already in there. They're already a B.
They're already a bit. These are
Everybody
all
in
challenging
Super
for
League
Bs.
at this moment is everybody. Take away Leeds, Warrington, St Helens, and Wigan. Everybody else is a B.
But say if I finish bottom of the league this year,
the 6 in the championship who would pass as a B.
Yeah.
So that's why you've got 14 Bs, but only 8 spots.
So Salford
And
finished
that's what's
bottom at
at play.
Super League this year, score 7 points. It has no bearing on them being a B or an A or anything.
No, they're just a B.
No, they'll still be a B.
They're not going to be an A. There's no one that's
whether
challenging.
That
for A
explains
from-
why no one's bothered about where they finished this year. Then that's making more explanation of my point last week.
Exactly. Yeah,
I made a point last week. Only thing IMG have done wrong is they've took a lot of zap out of the competition.
they have, yes, because they basically said this coming season's the dummy run.
You know it.
Because 24 is when the shit hits
But
the
this is
fan.
where they've not. This is where I think I'm hoping they've got cleverer people than us. Because if they do that and the figures will drop, mark my words. I'm saying this on here. You can quote me on it. End of the year, we'll drop every figure you've ever seen. Unless they've already got the Sky deal done, which is end of this year. Unless they've already got this done at end of next year, we're in the dunny. Because if they've not already got that tied up, and then they've announced all this, which is, hey, get everything right in order, we're going to assess you. Put that competition to the side, because we're not going to promote this competition at the moment. Let's just tell everybody what we're doing. They don't realise what rugby league is, and they're thick. Because if they don't realise how much of that type of... We're on that as a business. If we pull off now with the competition, and we end up with bad figures TV, bad figures this, God help, let's hope IMG have already done the deal. Do you understand me? Because if you go to Sky with your bowl out at end of June next year and you say, where's figures TV, where's viewing figures, where's attendance figures, where's social media figures, by the way, what's the Sky deal? And they go, that's got to have already been done then. That must have been done on back of this, because if they haven't,
I'm not privy.
I'm a negotiator, Mick. That's what we do.
I don't think it's been done.
Oh, no.
The feeling
no,
I got...
No.
The feeling
You're in the big dungy.
The feeling I got...
Big dunny.
The feeling I got is they're talking to broadcast partners, and obviously this IMG is a fresh product, a fresh proposal. So I think, we're going to tread on water.
Well, that tells me that...
What they're going to do is then...
I honestly believe there's no agreement.
When
and deal
IMG
done.
go to different broadcast companies, they're obviously going to have to sell it as a new product. They can't say, look at our previous figures over the last 5 or 6 years. They're going, look at what this will become.
Yes.
So they'd have to sell it on the back of that.
Based on what?
On everything that they've announced. So they have to hope their proposal, what they announce now, what IMG announced, what is going to happen from 25 onwards, sounds that impressive that they want to buy into the proposal rather than what's already happened.
Yeah, but your problem being there is broadcasters are usually bothered about viewing figures only.
Yeah, I get no.
And how the game is promoted, as in, is it everything? Does it tick every box, or what the new school is? Does it tick this box? Does it tick that? If they've got that box ticked, has he developing all areas?
We definitely tick that box.
Rugby league.
We definitely tick that box.
But rugby, your problem is rugby league, and this is the men's rugby league, will probably be the one where they'll go, because they'll push women's a lot. That's fantastic at the moment. It's a real vibrant product. They can go and say to the deals, they are improving every year. What we're showing is a ladder. We're other way. We're showing a ladder that is actually going like that.
Well, that's my point. You can't, and you're still judging it in past. Because it will be that way. If obviously the way they've done it, they can't sell what's happened in the last year or so. They have to sell what's coming, which is a tough sell. I'm not saying it's not, but that's what they'll have to sell. They can't sell the decline. They need to.
I know that.
That's all getting cut.
I know that.
That's all getting cut off, and it's gonna rat.
So they're gonna say, I'll do it for you.
The trend's gonna go this way.
I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you both. Pleased to meet you guys, Mick. Craig Harrison, IMG, Joe Harrison, yeah. And I do my presentation and I say, look, here we go. This is what we've put in place to make this game better. If you buy into this, we think we can improve these figures because all these other areas are better. Problem being, the only thing that the media or the broadcast are bothered about is little bits of that. They're not interested in 10 thingy plans.
I agree.
They're not interested in game day experience, only what it looks like on Sky. They're not bothered whether there's hundreds of things going off. They're just looking at what Sky want to see. Now, the other one is, devil's advocate, if Sky have said to IMG, this is our plan, you get this right, which will get the viewing figures up, we'll back you. I've got to believe that IMG have already talked, Mick. Honestly,
I'm not saying they.
Do you think they'd have come into our sport if they want to talk to Sky? When they've got the biggest relationship with Sky? They've got to with them.
I don't think they've got the biggest relationship.
Well, they have. IMG, they're one of the biggest media outlets.
Yeah, so think about UFC, BT, they're all on
right.
IMG's a lot BT.
I genuinely feel, hand on heart, there is nothing set in stone. This season coming up is the last year of the current TV deal. We know under Robert Elston, we lost 16 million. We know we're at 24. How do we reverse that? How do we get that 16
million? Do you
million
think IMG have talked to BT then? And BT have said to us,
100%. Yeah.
If you get this new van, we don't like the old one. If you get all this sorted, we'll back you.
Maybe, yes. That's the hope.
Even if rugby union's been an absolute nightmare failure.
BT, yeah.
They've paid that much for it, they've lost billions and millions and millions.
Yeah, because the viewing figures are like 50, 60,000 a game.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get lucky, 110 if it's Leicester and Wasps.
Sorry, Mick, what would a good rugby league game have?
200.
Oh, so we destroy rugby union on
viewing
figures?
Depending on things, yeah, we do have some good ones. We have 180s, we have
we also have some poor ones.
We have some poor ones.
Yeah.
Like I think Wakefield Cast last year got 86,000.
But sorry, I apologise. So some rugby union games that they put on BT only average 30, 40?
No, 50, 60.
50, 60. So our worst is better than their worst?
Yes.
Wow, that's fair play. That's a bit positive news.
But remember, we've had an historic.
There's more Sky subscribers than BT Sport subscribers.
And we've had 15 years to build our product on Sky. You know what I mean? This is not. They have
a lot longer, Craig. 30 plus years.
30 years. Rugby Union have had 2 years, 3 years to build up. We've
4
had
or 5 now, haven't they?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We've had years and years and years to build up a product. Listen, how I see it all is, if you are. Let's just put Huddersfield up again. We're not individualising anybody, but let's say Huddersfield. Historically, I've got a rich benefactor.
Yeah, so Huddersfield will score strongly on finance.
Right, but as a club are losing $1 million a year. Let's just say that, which it'll show that if he wasn't putting in that money, they lose £1 million a year. So
correct. So if Ken pulls out, the finance will be crippled because they're looking at stuff like turnover.
Yeah. So then you look at the crowds at Huddersfield, who have historically got worse every year.
Correct. Again, up against Wigan, Leeds, St Helens, they would score poorly.
Social media, they've got better because if you remember the famous show we did, Mick, all them years ago with Richard Doulis.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how we thought the social media side of it should be better. And Rich,
we're
very old school. Can you remember that?
Yeah.
You can't remember that, can you?
No, I don't remember.
Rich said, promoting should be this and that. We were like, no, you've got to get your social medias up, your Twitters up, your Instas
and that's a key.
And they've got a lot better, haven't they?
Data. Looking at your social media numbers, your website metrics, how many people are actually hitting your website.
Could we get that figures for next week's show?
What?
Could we get some? Could Sam or somebody get us some?
I could do the social media. They won't release the website hits.
It'd be fantastic to see how much YouTube, how much Insta, how much.
Well, I could probably do Bradford and York because I've got close connections at Bradford and York.
No, interesting. Even from RFL, if they could get us that figures, because it'd be great for us to say which.
I don't think RFL would know web hits.
They wouldn't know.
Well, the RFL probably could say what their web hits
were,
but they wouldn't. They're not going to release confidential data on the clubs.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Because
they wouldn't.
Then it gives you an idea.
If I asked you off the bat though, if I said to you both now, tell me which club you see most in Super League on social media, including YouTube, Insta, Twitter, Snapchat.
I'll be brutally honest, probably Wigan.
You're Wigan.
Leeds Rhinos all day.
Leeds Rhinos.
I think if you're asking me to name three, Leeds are in there, St Helens and Wigan. I think Leeds, Wigan, Saints.
So I don't see much Saints stuff, do you?
I don't.
I don't see much Saints stuff.
Maybe it's the Instagram. Like I said, I just noticed the other day there was George Roby there, then they did interviews with Lewis Dodds and all the other players. I do follow all the clubs on Instagram, so I get a good feel. Huddersfield have started putting out some good content, some videos with Masters and some of the new signings that they've put out.
It's weird because you look at it and
Hull FC a bit actually. Hull FC are quite good.
We do. I was checking this other day, so I ain't got the exact figures. But this show alone, so we peaked at 9,200. And by the way, everybody watching, please like, because I found out this week, the more likes you get as the vehicles, the more likes you get, the vehicle is all over. So please like it. When you gain on, subscribe, but please press the like button. We're going to do a different segment after the show where Mick's going to listen to all the comments of the last couple of weeks. Mick's going to ask me and Joe the questions we're going to answer to give you a little bit of interaction. So Sam's been asking for that for a bit, so we'll do that after this bit. But I've been watching historically, our figures peaked at 9.2. Let's say we average 1.5. That's probably in 2 or 3 weeks. It might end up being 3, but historically it takes 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, judging on a one-week basis, it's like 1.
Yeah, we as a show, with our own budget, get more than most Super League clubs with their content. Now that, for me, it's good for us. But it's probably bad for them that they haven't got enough content going out to create, because we do this on 2.9 subscribers, 2.9k, just to give people an idea. That's our subscription, which is pretty poor. But our volume is massive compared to subscribers, which usually there's an interaction with that. A lot of clubs have got 40, 50,000 subscribers and can't get numbers above 200 or 300 on the YouTube views.
I know.
And they've got this hot news, so they're not people talking. They're bringing in 2 or 3 star players and still only getting 200 or 300. So obviously there's something going wrong. Now it's what I think me and Joe and Jimmy talked about a couple of weeks ago. That's where they do need a bit of help. They do need to get these YouTubers. They need to get these bloggers. They need to get people who are carrying big numbers. If I was advising any club at the moment, I'd say go and get yourself a blogger, or go and get yourself somebody who carries
a vlogger
who carries massive numbers. Mick, I'd get people involved at the club. I'd be looking for somebody, and it could be now as important as getting somebody who's got 10 million. If you can say I've got somebody who's got 1 million viewers, or you've got somebody who's got plus 400,000, Mick, it could be better than getting a benefactor. Because if somebody comes along and goes, I've got massive numbers here and I'm willing to partnership with your club, that could tick at least 3 of your boxes by getting one person. Do you get me? So if you've got let's say top one in Yorkshire at the moment, might have 1.2 Jacks. Let's say Jack's on here. Let's not say Jack's on here, but somebody like Jack's, he's got 1.2 on Insta.
Has he?
Yeah. Now you imagine now, somebody who's got up to, say I've got the product, right, and there's some product on YouTube where they're getting 20,000 a show, minimum, 3 shows a week too, or any content gets 20,000. Imagine them partnering up now. It's worth clubs paying them and saying, can you come on board and help us build ours based on what you've got? Because everything you put out has got massive content. Do you understand that?
I get it.
There's not many sport. It'll be interesting to know. There's some sports shows, Mick, can go out and put 500,000 views on YouTube every week. Massive. I don't know what the Rogan and them get now.
That's different.
Barstool Sports, the Australia, whatever, right? But it's weird. I really think if you're a club, a lot of these clubs have nothing. I mean, we can. What do Bradford have on YouTube?
Sure.
Oh,
Bradford are one of the best as well.
Well, just Google it now. Just Google Bradford now on YouTube. See how many views they get on it. We'll do it live.
Bradford are a bad example because they do.
Well, I'm happy for Bradford. We'll promote Bradford being good. I'm just a little case study there. Is
I should know this, but
Bulls TV.
yeah, what have they got subscribers, Joe?
Subscribers 3.47k.
and how much average views
If I go,
last week?
If I go videos last week, or if I can go, I'll go last week. So pre-season Miles Lawford 134, pre-season Mark Dunning 290, Mark Dunning and Michael Lawrence
290 views.
Yep.
We'll just say that. Yeah.
Mark, I did say it. Relax. I did say it. Mark Dunning on Michael Lawrence 400. Pre-season Mark Dunning again 470. Dean Thompson signs 500. Jack Walker signs for Bradford Bulls 560. And then the top one they've had recently, they've had two top ones. The highlights of Bradford Bulls v Greece,
6,000.
2 months ago, was 6,000.
Wow.
Bradford Bulls v Greece Rugby League, the actual full length video, 1,000. So that's what.
Right, do that against. Just put an Huddersfield in there now. Let's just do a quick one. And by the way, Mick can get at this, and Joe, for next week we can actually get you some. So this would be interesting. Straight off the bat.
They don't have their own YouTube, I don't think.
What, they don't even have their own YouTube?
No.
Right, put them compared to. Do you want to put York in? Newcastle? Do they have their own?
Try Newcastle.
I'll try Newcastle. Newcastle Thunder. Wow. Newcastle have got 561 subscribers. In the last week, they've not posted in 12 days, but 12 days ago, Rugby Plus Ray's involvement, 17 views. Interview with Chris Foreman.
Jordan will want this.
Interview with Chris Foreman, 359
Oh, that's not bad.
And then, 2 weeks ago, Rugby Plus Growth Skills, 27. Rugby Plus 37. Newcastle Thunder Hall of Fame, 206. The big preview, Lee Centurions.
This is why the data.
No, to be fair, this is off season, so I'll be fair. The last video they had, the big preview, Lee Centurions, that was their match against Lee Centurions, did 698.
And listen, Newcastle do some fantastic stuff.
do.
You know, they do the previews. It's like
It proves how hard it is, though, doesn't it? No content for 12 days. Imagine not doing any content for 12 days.
Craig, fundamentally...
Put York up, Joe. That's so interesting what we're doing.
Craig, fundamentally, this ties in with what everybody's saying. We have an ageing support-based demographic.
100%.
Right.
The ageing fan base, they're not on YouTube.
York Rugby League subscribers is 1,806k subscribers. Videos recently, so they've not uploaded in 3 weeks. Menfulness Meets Brendan O'Hagan did 112. Taus and Harrison trained with the Kiwis, like 258. Papua New Guinea Orchids, Lindsay Anfield, 268. Andrew Henderson's first interview was head coach, 304. And then, to be fair, I'll say the last one in season, I'll do the same as Newcastle. The last one in season is Halifax v York. The playoff final did 835 views. So in season, it seems to obviously be much more, but off season,
it's shocking. Now compare that to a St Helens. Let's do a Saints. This just for everybody who's watching, because this is where a lot of people are going YouTube. Which what's getting.
I don't think St Helens have got a YouTube.
They have.
What was it be called?
Try Saints TV. They must have.
Oh, Saints. No, because that'll be the football team, won't it? It's not the Atlas.
Right, just put Bradford in there, or Wigan.
St Helens Rugby League. I don't think they do. Do they? What's it called? I found it here.
Right, go on, Joe.
So 7.16 thousand subscribers. Recently uploaded They've not uploaded in 2 years, so they don't. They've not.
What do you mean? They haven't loaded anything, no content on YouTube for 2 years.
Huddersfield haven't touched theirs for 3 years.
Huddersfield haven't put anything on YouTube for 3 years.
Correct,
600 subscribers.
To be fair, when they did upload Saints, Betfred World Cup Challenges approaching 2 years ago, 2.3 thousand. Saints TV subscribed to a brand new platform.
This is what I'm trying to say, Craig.
7.6 thousand.
IMG, when we were talking about the data aspect of it all, social media metrics, we're not just talking, we're not just talking YouTube, we're talking Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok,
I get that, but YouTube at the moment's pushing for content for a lot of places.
I agree.
And what you're saying there is, we've actually...
Clubs have abandoned YouTube. They're like, no one's watching us. We're abandoning it.
They did. They got Saints for it 2 years ago. I just loaded.
No, but what's actually good about that and interesting is we laugh, but like Bradford have got some quite good content on YouTube. They've actually Newcastle obviously haven't posted for 12 days, but previously
good content.
But compared to some of the bigger clubs, there he's just said Saints and Huddersfield.
I'll do Leeds Rhinos. They're probably the top one on YouTube. Leeds Rhinos, 14.2k subscribers. So
wow.
Best we've done so far, but they do upload every day, pretty most days. Myler impressed by new Leeds Rhinos signing McDonnell, 944. Holroyd hoping for late Christmas gift, 505. I'll do behind the scenes week 5 pre-season training 2.2. Leeming impressed by next generation 1.2. This is only 4 days ago, so all of them have been done in the last. McDonald starts training with Leeds Rhinos 6 days ago, 1.9k. Rhinos boss Smith pleased with progress, only 10 days ago, and that's all the ones I've mentioned, 2.5k. So they upload regularly and give it a go.
Show Me the Money TV is number 1 or 2 rugby league viewing on YouTube.
No,
Come on,
Craig,
come on then, show me.
Ultimately, what this does is it paints a very depressing picture that a lot of the fan base of these sports, like for Leeds, I know they're comfortably averaging 1,000, aren't they?
Yeah.
Sometimes 2,000. So they've got 14,000. So what's that in I'm atrocious at maths, but if you've got 14,000 subscribers and you're only hitting 1,000 or 2,000, that's like less than 20%.
It's 10% of this.
Can we put quickly? We're doing this live, so apologies. Can we put another sport here and put one team in just to see? Pick a sport. Rugby Union.
Rugby Union.
Let's put Leicester Tigers. Is that fair or is that not fair?
Well, you're comparing Leicester Tigers to Leeds.
So
Leeds. This is like a Leicester versus Leeds comparison.
Sam, can you get a football club up for us? Pick one.
Leicester Tigers 14.4. So they
similar to Leeds, yeah.
So they've got free match day Heineken Champions Cup round 1. This was posted 24 minutes ago, so it's probably not fair, but 24 views. But I'll do one from 1 day ago. Light X Alfred Broad 134. Post match chat Harry Simmons 1k. Post match chat Ollie Chesham 900.
That's not better then, is it?
It's a lot worse because this is in season.
Oh wow!
So if I went to Leeds Rhinos in season, it 4 or 5k. For a video, like 3k, 2k.
Well, you've already seen the Bulls when Bulls are in season, 6k for highlights.
Well, and to be fair to all the York and Newcastle and Bulls, they've actually now you're looking at this in comparison, they're doing really well.
Match highlights Gallagher Premiership round 11, 1.9k. So that's there's nothing.
What does a football club?
2.1k.
So Huddersfield Town, if you look at this, 33,500 subs. B-team highlights from yesterday against Watford, 850. Defeat to Sheffield United highlights, 2k. Goals of Sheffield United game, 1k. Interview, Tyree Simpson, 1k. Head coach after the defeat, 1.5k. Inside training for the pre-game, 2.5k. Pre-match press conference for that game, 2.2k. Interview with an old player, 1.1k.
What would a club like Tottenham Hotspur get or a Man United?
This is the sad thing, though. This is the sad thing that I'm going to go over. The one where most sports people all view, I think the NFL have got millions, NBA millions, most Gallagher Premiership have got quite a few. Super League have got 36.4k subscribers, that's all. And then for the recently uploaded I'll go the last. Lewis Murphy, 2022 Betfred Super League tries, 960. Ash Hanley, same thing, 950. Super League Stories, More Than a Game, 1.6. Ryan Brearley, Super League, 1.2. Extended Highlights, the Grand Final, 8k. Grand Final Highlights, 33k, that were brilliant. Out of Your League, going into the final, 7.9. Highlights for the playoffs, 1850. The playoffs did really well on YouTube. Huddersfield beat Salford in the playoffs.
40,000 if you've got 37,000 subscribers.
You'd be happy with that.
What, Sam, converting that then, Sam, off what we get views compared to subscribers, we're rocket horse, we're the number ones. If we get 30,000 subscribers,
that's what you
can you convert that? Can you not convert subscribers into views?
Well, the more you get, though, you've got to think the more you get, more random people could just come across it and click subscribe and then never watch a video. So that happens. The bigger you get, the more YouTube push your video out. It only takes one to.
We're averaging 50% of our subscribers on views every time we put content up,
which is 70%.
It's ridiculous. Then ours is brilliant, isn't it? Well done, all you lot.
But yeah, look, there's massive room for improvement.
Listen, any club will want us to come and look after theirs. We're all willing. Our wages are not that big. We love rugby league, lads. We'll help you promote your YouTube. Use the full 80. Use Show Me TV. We'll get your viewers up. Obviously, there's a problem. We're here to help.
Right.
A Saints and a Huddersfield, though, just to say, they'll be going for the cash of the subscriber paywall. So that's why they ditch YouTube completely. They're just going for the
Saints TV. Saints.
Clever. Got you.
But that benefits money, I guess, some short-term
Saints
money.
not rugby league then, doesn't it?
What?
Well,
that's good for Saints, but not the overall game.
But to an extent, if you think big picture, it's good for Saints short term, innit? Because you're getting that cash in.
Yeah.
But it's bad long term because you're not growing the sports. You're not growing. No, not the sport. You're not growing St Helens as a squad on.
A brand
on their own.
You're just keeping it to your own.
Yeah, keeping it to their own.
It's a typical local rugby league decision to make sure you get your own money in, but don't spread the sport and send. Which is why we've said Saints should be the biggest club in the world at any sport. Yet they're only known in Lancashire. They're not known anywhere outside of it. Now, if I were only 5-timer, Saints should be revered all over. They should be like the All Blacks. You know, they should be like this great.
Well, it just shows
Penrith Panthers now, they're saying they're flying in from everywhere in the world to watch them on a Sunday. Quickly, you've put Penrith Panthers up.
You've got one, actually. I'm going to dive in. You've got one. Think about when it shows how, if I'm going to compliment Leeds here, shows how bigger Leeds are as a club compared to Saints. Leeds did the treble, didn't they? They got on Sports Personality of the Year. They won the team one. Saints have just done a 4-timer.
They didn't get anything.
And haven't even been talked about on that level. That shows how little they do expanding their own brand.
Like Sam said, if that's what they're doing, though, just making sure they're getting them £20 a month.
You're not doing it, though, because you're not enticing.
You're not enticing new people.
Because you're putting it behind the paywall, which is what Bradford tried to do many years ago under Mark Green. And I think it was $3.99 a month. It was great, but people like to watch.
We need to do both. The best ones. I watch way too much YouTube for my own good. All the best ones that I follow, that even some of them about fantasy. I know, obviously, watching the fantasy football in terms of American football, they do YouTube every single day. But then they say, if you want our best content, come here. Yeah. And then they get the most loyal viewers to go on there. That's how they do it.
We've been approached. We got approached a couple of months ago. I don't know if I told you that. We got approached somebody saying, can we help set this up for you? So we go on a subscription. I said, no, because we're men of the people.
But the best way to do it would be do both, wouldn't it? Be to do both.
No, we're not about financial gain. We're all we give to the people.
We're going to start a brand new rugby league transfer
show only on our show with the
Sam, what would Penrith do for last one on this? Then Mick can carry on with some else.
Penrith subscribers 35.6k.
That's in line with Leeds, isn't it?
Last videos, Jerome Luai highlights 2.5k. Tyler May highlights 2.9k. Stephen Crichton, big game player 6.8k. Coaching clinic, 5.3k for 3 weeks.
And these have got the biggest stars in the world to bring onto a show or to do a bit with.
To be fair, if you listen to a lot of them, a lot of people do say who do study the sport a bit even more in depth than we do. The ones who tweet about it do say Leeds Rhinos, social media and all that, they are the biggest team in the world. Leeds Rhinos are number one
Leeds
in the
are very
world.
good at what they do. Leeds are very
They
good.
are.
Multi-platform, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. And that's what you've got to be in this day and age, this social media age.
Go back in season, it gets a lot bigger.
Yeah.
I'm sure in the fight.
But yeah, this kind of gives you an idea. But like I say, that's just one aspect of this criteria is data, which of course is social media. So IMG, they are going to look at the YouTube. They're going to look at the views. Who's bringing in the views?
So interesting what Sam's just said
sport.
though, Mick, innit? How typical how we think in rugby league. Historically, we think smart.
Oh, carry on.
Historically, we think what's the best thing for ourselves.
This is the biggest clue. This is what I was searching up. So the biggest clue I've got, if compare I'm blaming Super League as a whole here, not the teams. I'm not going individual. I'm going the Super League YouTube that I mentioned. How many subscribers did I say it had? 30 odd. NRL, which is the equivalent, obviously, in Australia, 247k subscribers. So they quadrupled,
Quarter million subscribers.
five times us. And the recently uploaded, that's 3 hours ago, if I go day by day, 3K, 1.5, 3.7, 9.7, 4.9, 13K, 4.8, 18K, 2.2, 3.1, 2.4, 9K, 11K, 5K.
It just goes to show though,
the
again,
bigger picture,
yeah.
they swallow us.
subscriber based. We're the boys. We're the best, aren't we?
It's not how it works, son. I love it. I love the positivity.
We're getting average of this. We're beating everybody. We're beating everybody.
Viewers,
To say we've got
subscribers to viewers.
2.9 subscribers
subscribers.
and we've been hitting 9 points.
Please share the love. We can break every record. By the way, Penrith, we're after you. We want to be number one.
I don't want to insult, but we're on 1.8, so we're nearly 1 to 1. We're close to. We're probably 1 to 0.8.
It's amazing compared
which
to
is-
views.
Which is
The best thing I've ever seen. How can you take a negative out of that? You've got to take a positive. Only a lunatic can take a
No,
negative.
there's no need to insult. There's no need to do that. But I get you. We've got to be realistic there. We're still
I'm saying
we grow.
we've just said 12 things there.
That will differentiate as we grow.
But we've just said 12 things there.
It's a brilliant start.
And we're looking, and you're looking at, you've just mentioned 12 clubs as views, and we are being thinking it's fantastic, and it proves that it can be done. It proves, but what Sam said is very interesting. I like that. The content is that if they're keeping that to themselves to make a few quid, IMG again need to get to them and say, by the way, we don't want you putting that behind a wall for your own financial gain. We'd rather you put some good content out to grow the game.
But it's
maybe
not,
a bit of both.
But it's of course, a bit of both. That's what I guess all clubs do that. But it's just that they don't post anything on the YouTube. It's mind blowing that they don't post anything. That they've gone completely back.
12 days, he said, when our clubs are not.
Right, we're moving on.
No,
We're moving on.
No,
We're moving
2
on.
years.
2 years.
2 years.
We're moving on. We're moving on.
Sorry.
But yeah, we should expect some news from IMG because we don't want to keep talking about IMG. But February for the grading criteria, and then the provisional grades will be in July, and then that will give everybody the biggest indicator yet.
Do they go on YouTube, IMG? Can we see what they've said about our game on YouTube, or is there any content we can watch? So we can't watch anything they've said?
No.
Well, isn't that a problem straight away?
It's just
No,
people like
it's
me
not,
in the
no.
media and the clubs who've seen the presentation. Listen,
They're
I would
running it,
absolutely
I know.
love. I would love that presentation to be on YouTube
I'm
because
going to say you're the biggest media company in the world and you've only kept it to a small group of people.
because it was an hour long and it basically highlighted what they're trying to do in terms of.
So are they asking you to promote that?
Yes. Well, this is
You
why
know, they've got big problems with them figures we've got promoting what they're saying.
this is why I wrote all this down here about data, crowds, finance, broadcast, governance. Obviously, geographical location we believe will be added, only purely because when we had the presentation, they were talking about London, they were talking about York, they were talking about Bradford, Newcastle. Those were like the 4 clubs, the buzz clubs.
London.
We were talking about. Yeah, London, Bradford, York, and Newcastle.
Are we leaving? Well, how did Cumbria's get a mention? Did Cumbria get a
There
mention?
was no mention at all for Cumbria. No.
Wow.
Sadly, Whitehaven and Workington are in a little bit of a difficult time at this moment. That's what I'm hearing.
Wow.
Very, very tough. Like I said, Craig.
Do you know what? Wouldn't it have been
Craig,
great if they went one franchise, Mick? All them years ago we talked about it, probably 10 years
They're
ago
not
on
gonna
show.
though. They're not gonna.
I wish they would though. Would you?
Yeah. Look,
Yeah, but that's easy for us to say, I guess, isn't it? But that'd be like...
a previous custodian of Whitehaven told me, he said he had met with Workington and they wanted to do it. They thought this is the future, but the other board members.
Do you know what you'd rather say though? We need to sad that in a way that you'd rather have no club at all than share, because that's what's going to happen in it. Let's be honest. You can have an amateur club.
Well,
Yeah,
let
they
me
will
be,
have
and
a
how
club,
sad's
but
that?
it'll
Let me be
How
realistic.
sad's
be a
that?
League
when
One
you
club,
look at
it'll be a-
Cumbria, historically, the start of the Super League, it was Workington because they were in. They had that disastrous year where they were getting pumped by 60, 70 every week, and then they went down. Then it was Whitehaven's turn because Whitehaven, they were playing Warrington in a Challenge Cup game up there on the BBC, and there were 6,000 people there. They then went to the final, played Castleford, nearly got into Super League, and then it went back to Barrow, then it went back to Workington, and now you've probably got to say it's back with Barrow.
Yeah.
Barrow now, that the club under Steve Neal and Paul Carey, Barrow are the big buzz club up there, and quite rightly so. Barrow is would be an attractive option to IMG because, albeit it's relatively a sort of small-ish market up there, but for geographical location, you know, you have a bit of potential.
But it's still sad, isn't it? Because you've got top clubs putting satellite places in Cumbria to get their best youngsters and take away. We know at least 2 or 3 clubs who do this.
Agree, yeah.
How sad it is Cumbria get together, stop that happening, put it into one system to an academy, and then have one team. This is what happens in life. This is the problem with life, right? And especially rugby league. When you're Barrow and you're top at other 2, you say, "Hey, we don't want to share." But when Barrow were 3rd, another one were 2, they Whitehaven don't want to share. Then whoever's on top, not interested, but you only want us because we're best. They need somebody, don't they, or independently, who says, "This is ridiculous. This is completely ridiculous what you're saying," because probably need IMG. IMG would be good to come Cumbria, do a presentation and say, get all 3 clubs here and say, by the way, guys, if you went into one, we'd seriously consider you. We are seriously going to consider you if you can get one stadium and get an academy going, get the fans into one. Cumbria at Rugby League thingy, right? Let me just say.
The problem is, Craig,
Barrow
to Whitehaven, Workington, it's like going from York to Sheffield.
Yeah, but can't we get somewhere in the middle?
Barrow to Whitehaven's like...
Can't we get somewhere in the middle?
Yeah.
Can we not get somewhere in the...
Craig, there's nothing in the middle. There's Lake Windermere in the middle. There's nothing in the
There's a
middle.
massive mountain.
Not a bad start.
Massive hill and...
Imagine having Lake Windermere as your own.
It's ridiculous.
Craig, no.
Worst thing you've ever said.
No, listen. If you're going to talk silly, we're going to put you in retirement.
Yeah, send him off, son.
No,
Send him off.
I disagree
send
with
him
you.
off. No,
I
you're not.
completely
You don't
disagree.
understand the geography of it. That's
Get me
it's a lake.
geography.
It's a lake.
How much is in between? How much is in between Barrow working to the White?
It's ridiculous.
Well, you've
I'm not
got
even
to,
involved in
because
this,
you
mate.
can't make a comment. You don't have to challenge
I've been to Cumbria so many
Yeah.
times.
It's the silliest thing I've ever heard.
go on then.
I've even done the
It's
detour
late.
back
It's
to
late.
Bradford from Workington and Whitehaven, and you go down the country road,
Okay.
you go past Sellafield, you're up and down,
Right.
and all around. There is nothing there.
Brilliant.
There's nothing there, Craig.
But are we saying we've got 3 stadiums?
You've got 3 clubs up there,
Yes.
separated by
And
45
can any of them
miles.
3 clubs?
It's miles apart.
He's going to tell us now. Can any of them clubs absorb a stadium big enough to take one club?
The only way it would work is Whitehaven and Workington.
Right.
Because they are next door to each other.
What's that? Go on, Sam.
Between Workington and Barrow, it's 54 miles.
There you go.
Right.
Miles of...
40-minute drive.
How long?
Hour and 40.
Right, too long.
I said to you, Craig.
Whoa. Whitehaven and Workington.
Tone, son, get in there and sign.
No wrong with that, by the way. Hello,
Miles apart.
I've just told you Whitehaven and Workington.
20 minutes.
Yeah, that's...
Oh, so go on then. Why can't they merge?
We just said they've had conversations before.
Whitehaven and Workington have had conversations about merging. Sadly, you've got a very sort of parochial type of.
And who's got the best
director.
stadium out of them, which ought to be able to facilitate
I'll be
academies?
honest, there's very little between both stadiums. They're both
God.
very antiquated, ramshackle grounds.
So they need a new
So
stadium in between.
ideally,
There's a football club nearby though that I think they want to go
Workington
to.
Reds, but they can't go there because that's the same. It's the same as Durwood Park. It gets flooded. Logically, and it's easy for me to say this. We're based in Yorkshire. You know, right, Workington, Whitehaven, you merge, and the council build you a brand new 8,000 capacity stadium. But, you know, listen, this is tribal warfare, Craig. The fans will not go.
But they've got not a lot of planes. No offence, there's not another. It's not as if they've got loads of sport going up down there. That could make one of them towns, couldn't it?
I agree logically.
I watched the NFL thing the other day, and where the Americans get it, and not just Americans, they realise that how much business that brings in if you've got a good franchise. They reckon that I watching that Green Bay, it stops. Green Bay stops from Saturday till so all the town stops. And all the 10 billion a weekend goes into that industry. No, that keeps all the town going.
No, it's not all the town. It's all the It's all the state, and it's even larger.
Yeah, so I'm saying I don't understand why a council. Some of them must be small-minded, because if I got somebody like where there's no football, there's no cricket, there's no rugby union, rugby league would have a chance. Why would councils not try and back that and put facility around it? Do you know what I mean? It's crazy, isn't it? You look at what Man City did when that new owner took over at Man City. His big plan, you know what they were clever with? He said, I'm not just going to develop the team, I'm going to buy all the land round it. And he's bought all the land round it and developed it into training facilities, parks for kids. You need
someone to buy it.
It's genius what he's done. Yeah, and he said, I'm going to leave, let me finish.
He has unlimited
I'm going to leave it, yeah. Well, what's what I'm saying, we've got to...
unlimited money?
I don't know.
Exactly.
That's what we've always said. Why can't we attract that?
Why would no
IMG's job is to attract IMG, if they're big enough profile, should be giving us to attract people. If Hull KR have just announced 3 multi-millionaires into that, I don't know if they've announced 3. There's 3.
There's 2 so far.
Yeah, there's 3. So there you go. There's 3 going to come in. That's without Neil Hudgell. Neil Hudgell might put. Let's say Neil Hudgell puts $500,000 a year into Hull KR. That's a rich benefactor. That's a sole bloke putting that money in. And let's say he's done that historically for 10 years. You've now got 3 others who are as wealthy, if not well, in that league of Neil's, who will say, we might have $500,000 funds to put in each year. Has Paul Lakin just done a genius move for OKR by bringing in 3? That's surely worth more than everything. He's brought people with, let's say KR now could put $2 million a year in to their business plan. $2 million a year off 4 investors. I reckon he's just done best piece of business, regardless of all rest, because he's bought 3 others to support Neil in this. We shouldn't look down on a benefactor. Do you know benefactors in our sport? I have a feeling our sport look down at them. I get that feeling when you talk about these men. We should make.
There's definitely feelings of jealousy. Everyone would love a Ken Davey, a David Hughes.
Well, yeah. I don't know if it's
a Seymour.
I don't know
That's
if it's
a great
all
point.
that. I think it's. I don't know if it's. It might be a bit of jealousy, but I think it's mainly that the fans. It's just very historical in it as a sport. So I think the fans, rightly or wrongly, value their own supports. They're supporting their team over having rich person come in and spending the money. They think, let's appease the fans, if you get me, rather than... Do you know
if you have 5,000 season tickets or 4,000, it wouldn't equate in money terms to about a 50th of what that bloke will put in?
Yeah, if you let me finish. That was the big issue, innit? The fans see it that way. They're not bothered if they have a multi-million... A lot of them aren't, sadly. Well, not sadly. Maybe to them it's obviously not sadly, but I guess to the money, to the finance of the sport, sadly, they would rather have the fans loving the sport and loving this team and being the fan base like a Workington where it's all fan, rather than this owner coming in, big balling everyone. That a lot of the fans of rugby league are in the sport because of how old school it is, rather than being football. That's the sad truth of it. That's the truth of it.
Right, we're going to move on.
Nice.
I agree, Joe. Craig, you're getting it. Alan Muscroft. This was 7 days ago. Alan, thank you for watching the show. He says, "Hi Craig, in the last 2 shows you have slagged off my club Castleford. First by saying they aren't big enough club for Truman. And on this show, which was last week's show, you said it was Castleford who made the players pay for their own trip. It's bad enough they had a coach in Darryl Powell, who is your friend. The problem lies with Powell because he only promoted 2 players from the Cass Academy in 8 seasons there, and he's saying that was Truman and Jax O'Neill to play regularly in Castleford." Well, Alan, Truman was a Bradford Bulls Academy product, so if what you're saying is correct, did Darryl Powell only bring through Jax O'Neill? I don't know what he's... I don't know.
I can tell you.
Well, is this saying, give Castleford a fair go. I enjoy the show, and I don't want to lose you.
First of all, I love Cass.
Well, you can't. Alan's complaining, saying you've slagged him off.
I'm going to answer you. Because you and Alan have got similar traits.
Oh, he's getting the insults.
Right,
out.
so what you do is...
a lot of people
I love
today,
Cass.
He's been doing it a lot.
You know the score,
No
Mick.
need.
Joe, I'm trying to talk, so
God.
what's your manners? Is
Historically...
historically... Well, what? You and I'll wait.
No, I would.
Oh, thank you. I thought you would ask me, not you.
No, I was asking you.
Thank you.
Sure.
So, we've been absolutely slaughtered in the past for backing classic Cass. We've actually, as a show, been told we're Cass biased. So, Alan, historically, we are Cass biased. 2, a lot of personal friends there. 3, yeah, Powley were one of me best people I've met in rugby league, and I still stick by it. Powley didn't do a good enough job in promoting youngsters to Cass. I think he got about 6 through, but only 1 or 2 of them had little games, you know. And historically, youngsters have come from other clubs like Truman, like Toyo Gowood, who played, you know, that year, like Jack's joined at an early age. Will Mayer joined at an early age from Cumbria. 16-year-old, they come down from Cumbria. Did Powley do a good enough job on that? No, he didn't. He went top end. He went for the top table. He tried to win a grand final. Ultimately, he came up short in 17, but that were all his goal. He thought if he brought a grand final back to Cass, that would be he got 2 semi-finals, Challenge Cup and all this, but I think he saw that as being a better move for the Cass than developing 10, 11 youngsters, which, by the way, in my opinion, when they got to the grand final, youth academy final against Wigan, these were the players who should have come through. And Alan, I'll give you some here. I took 2 players out of Cass because I didn't feel Powley. And that's not true of my friendship. I took Lewis Johnson to Warrington because I thought the opportunities were better. He's obviously ended up at KI. He's had 70 games or whatever it is. I also took out Callum McClellan because they signed Corey Aston and Jamie Ellis. We felt that was stunting the growth of that young man. So I backed me thing up with what we did. That grand final side they had that year, young Callum Turner, I think the Jacks, Truman, McClelland, Johnson, Turner, who played for England, and I think there were a couple of other young lads who were right up there. The winger who's now played for Dewsbury, I think, or the big tall winger. So historically, no, Powley didn't do a good enough job on that.
Lewis Carr.
Yeah,
Lewis Carr.
So they did have some big numbers. I can't see that changing. Cass have got some great youngsters now. We've got one. Hugo is hell of a talent. Whether they can change that, but if you look at Radaz's recruiting and the lads, it's top heavy. They've renewed a lot of contracts on 30-plus-year-old players. Radaz historically does prefer that type of player. That's just being honest. So I certainly would never call Cass. We need Cass in. Listen, my daughter worked at Cass's shop because I actually loved it and I thought it'd be a great experience for her as a young person. Because you know why I picked Cass? Because they're honest people. They're nice people, so we're massive on Cass. But Cass, if you watch the show, Alan, and Mick and Joe and me have just done a little thing on IMG, Cass are one of them who need to watch this. They do. We're just trying to be honest. They do. The facility needs improving. I've heard this good... I'm not going to say good news because last time we did that, I got me shot. I don't want no chairman getting munk on. We've heard this good news on a lot of things at Cass, which they need to get out there on the content. But I'm telling you now, historically, Cass are in that band of Wakefield, of what you've said about Huddersfield, these old traditional clubs, and you've got biting at your heels. You've got York, London, Newcastle. You've got these clubs who are coming to take your place in this historic game. They've got to up their game, Mick, can't they?
Agree.
Everyone will say it,
That's what IMG wanted. They wanted everybody to be in 8, so they can go to 2 divisions of 10, 2 conferences of 8.
So yeah, it's nothing pertinent. Thank you for watching the show, but please.
Another question from Adam and Linda. Last week, this is Linda saying, Craig, you said Rowan is under pressure to do something at Leeds. She says she doesn't think Rowan is under pressure. There's no pressure from her. Adam then says, is Rowan under pressure to win something? Or certainly, well, he got to the semi. Let's be honest, Leeds last season, they got to within 80 minutes of the grand final.
They got
to the grand final.
Sorry. What did they do in the Challenge Cup?
Probably we can check it, but I think it was quarter-final.
Was it the quarter-final of the Challenge Cup?
I didn't think it was semi this year, but we can check that. Sam can check it now.
So yeah, they got to the final, played St Helens, and unfortunately, a game too far. But that game against Wigan, that semi-final, that's the game I was going to highlight. They've proven with that big win over Wigan at Headingley, was it 40 points to 12?
Yeah.
And then they've gone to Wigan and done the double.
Yeah.
So they've got the ingredients there. And I know Rowan Smith, and I've said this from time and time again, the culture's changing. You've seen how Leeds play now. The whole transformation. I think this year, I mean, a lot of people have got Leeds as the challengers to St Helens. I mean, I'd love to know what people's thoughts are, but Linda says, Craig, I think you're wrong. Rowan is under no pressure at all from us to win something.
If you remember the conversation we had, it was, do I think he's created his own pressure? Yeah. I think he's created his own pressure by being so successful last year. Historically, Leeds need to win something every year. They won the Challenge Cup under Rich Agar. It actually got the pressure off. But remember, Mick, remember this, and as a Leeds finals fan, if you're watching this, you haven't won a grand final since 17. So I said that again.
Yeah.
17. Leeds are in the top. Well, it's 5 or 6 years ago.
In Gary Everington terms, it's a lifetime ago.
And he just said there, you can't have it both ways. You can't say we're one of the biggest clubs in the world, as Joe's just said, and then say it's all right, we've not won it for 5 years. But bollock, you can't have it both ways.
I agree.
If you're one of the biggest clubs in the world, you have to be competing or winning a grand final every couple of years. There's only 4 can win it, Mick. We're not in this super comp where historically there's only 4 teams won it in 20 years. So every year you're going against 3 other clubs who historically can win this sport.
Yeah, because Bradford are no longer in the
league. So you're not really reinventing a wheel. Do you know what I mean? Of a sport where everyone's got a fair chance at it. You've probably got 2 or 3 clubs. Leeds, again, you cannot say is Rowan under pressure. Anybody who's at Leeds has got to be at start of the season under pressure to win something. How can you not? It's ridiculous. It's any supporter who sits there and goes, hey, I'd love to see it at Leeds and we can have 5 years of just developing these youngsters. And then, of course, we'd love to see over the next 3 years, 9 of these youngsters who are under 21 are going to be stars. I'd love to see that progression through, but I'll tell you, my own opinion is they'd have to win things in the meantime because I can't see. Here's one for you. I know quite a bit of the corporate elite, right? And I know because some of them are my friends and they stick big money in, historically they have. They don't really, and this is callous of what I'm going to say, and I hope they don't judge me on it. They're a result-based investor. So if this Leeds doing well, they're putting more money in. If Leeds don't do as well, they put it into Leeds United or they move it into Summit, which is more successful. I'm sure Rob Oakes would say this is the truth. It's easy for him to invest that money when they're doing well. So if you get to a grand final like last year, you'll get everybody wanting to be on shirts. If you don't, for the next 3 years, Rob has to work like Oak to try and get somebody on shorts. So the real supporter, shall we say the real, Roy Keane famously said, the prawn cocktail brigade against the real supporter. Joe said then, the Cumbria real supporter. Yes, the real supporter who sat in the stand might say, I'm willing to wait 5 years for all these kids to come through and we're happy if we don't. I reckon there is people out there, I'd say that'd be about 4%. But the real investment in Leeds Rhinos, by the way, and they've borrowed, I don't know what they borrowed, but Leeds at this moment will be a borrowing rate of about 20 million for that stadium. It'll probably be more. That'll only get paid by these big investors putting £1 million a year in to go on the kits. Do you get me? Leeds is a machine. It needs to do well in all areas, and they are definitely swayed, Mick, on results that you know what they want. And it sounds like people said they're not proper fans. They want to sit there on Challenge Cup day or Grand Final day and see their sponsorship walk out on that top. And they want to be sat there in that box, leaning over, and that's what they're putting the money in for. They're not putting it in for you to develop Harry Newman. Unfortunately, they're not. That's just corporate. That's why Roy Keane famously said the words, didn't he? Listen, they're not bothered about results in Prawn Cocktail Brigade. They've no interest. They're just here for a good time and do what they do. They've not sat on that stand for 20 years. Keane got pulled in, and they said, here, Roy, they're paying your wages as well. Do you get me? There's a big difference. We sit there in Leeds, there's probably 40 tables where we sit if we go to Leeds, yeah? We'll sit there, there's probably 400 people. Joe will answer this. How many of them people watch the game?
Well, I've been.
You've been there. How many people watch the game after the second half?
About 50%, isn't it?
They're all in there boozing. They're not talking about the wine and
so are they,
the cheese bars.
50%.
So are they bothered about whether we give a young Max a debut. They're not, unfortunately, they're not. But the lads in the South Stand, and there might be. You know what I mean?
There will be, yeah.
So it's a good point that you make there between the different expectations. But yeah, just quickly, is Rowan under pressure?
I'd say anybody who's a lead coach under pressure every year to win something, yes. And if they're not, Gary should be shot. Right. Gary should be not given a job. He should be saying every year, we have to win something.
Martin's asked about Darryl Powell at Warrington. How much pressure is he under after another year of wholesale change? Because he went in last year and there was wholesale change. I mean, I looked at this on my board here. Craig, you've actually got Warrington winning Super League.
Oh, I don't like to hear about that, mate.
And the grand final. Joe's got Warrington winning the grand final.
That was last year, yeah. We're changing that.
But, joking aside, your predictions for last year.
Yeah.
How much pressure is Powell under now to try and get somewhere?
Massive.
Could he be the first coaching casualty if it doesn't?
Yes. I think he knows it. I spoke to Darryl last week. I think he knows that this is... What he did say is, he thought the group he's got is exactly mentally where he wants it. I think Darryl's got a lot of... And again, we'll go back to the Cass argument. He's got a lot of older heads around him. I think he's comfortable with it. I think he's comfortable with men who's got kids, who know what they've got in their life. I think he struggles with that other bit. I think Brian Mack was saying, I think sometimes they struggle with a younger, softer version. Tough times breed tough people, that type of thing, whereas they've had a bit more to them. I think the new school's very hard. And I'll say this to anybody. I don't know if Joe agrees with me. He usually doesn't. But if you get a coach who's young, right, and he's around them young people, he gets the youngsters a lot better than the 50-plus-year-old coaches. They don't get them as much. Unfortunately, we watch it because we speak about it. They don't get the youngsters. They'll go, oh. Danny said to me the other day, Danny Maggs, he said, I'd say Danny's got his foot in old school and new school. I think he's more old school than new school. That's my opinion. And Danny talked about our youngsters having to train. And when they're pulling something in training, he said they've got to learn to train with pain, Mick. They've got to learn to get through games when they're hurt. He thinks that builds up their mental strength. Your problem is, Danny, is new school don't think like that. They don't want to build up these reserves of somebody who wants to build up this mental toughness and play with an injury, because that date, Mick, unfortunately, data and SNC has changed. So the youngsters are not brought up with a 35. Do you know what? Let's be honest here. When a young 19-year-old player now, Mick, sees a 35-year-old player and his legs are bent and he's got tape on his knees, his shoulders hanging off, that used to be given as a war wound. You looked at... Are you with me on this? Yeah, so I'm looking at you amazing, and I'm going, wow. Yeah. Danny used to look at changing rooms at that and go, my God, that's amazing. Look at all these things. These youngsters now go, oh God, I hope I don't end up like him. They're totally different. The mindset's totally different. So Powley, I think, he talked about Josh Maguire. He talked about these new signings bringing in this real leadership, and they use it a lot. I think Lee Radford used it a lot of leadership. Brian McDermott, leadership. I think that's a coaching style. Powley's definitely under pressure. When you're at Warrington like Leeds, you are under the cosh. If Warrington have not won anything in 20 years, they've been to about 4 finals, they've won 3, apologies Warrington, you've won 3 or 4 Challenge Cups under Tony Smith and they historically won it under Steve, didn't they, 3 years ago? Yeah. I think if Darryl's not in the top 4 historically through this year, by June it's all over. Right, I think he'd have to be in top 4.
Fair enough.
There you go.
The one for Josh, he was asking about the championship. Who do I see, or who do we see? Just a quick one, Josh, on that. I had a couple of chats with a number of championship coaches this past week, and quite a few have been complimentary and they agree with me. Your top 2 will be Featherstone or Toulouse. I think Toulouse will just edge it. They are the only full-time team in the championship. They might lose 1 at home, 2 or 3 away, but Toulouse will be top of the pile. But then, mark my words on this, there is going to be very, very little between a Featherstone, a Halifax, a Bradford, a York.
I think Bradford have got a 11 chance to win it.
I'm trying to downplay it, Craig.
I know you are, that's what I'm saying.
I'm trying to downplay it because...
Get off your... What do you call it? You think you've just done that? No, if I'd have thought the day you'd have bought, that is absolute... You shouldn't be on here doing that.
Well, no, this is me... Well, can you hear me out? Can you hear me out? The reason why I'm downplaying Bradford is because of the Odsel enigma. We know the pitch is 88. by 52. Mark Dunning has so much pressure. That club has so much pressure on the home form. As I said to Mark in an interview last week, Bradford's home form last year was the worst in 3 decades. They can't do anything with the pitch currently. They're waiting for this government decision on the new stadium. That is due imminently this week.
Why do away teams play better than Bradford at home then? That's weird.
Because, I'll be honest, because last season the Bradford Bulls squad wasn't fit enough.
Not fit enough.
So they weren't fit enough. You had that roll on where you had a Whitehaven straight out of dummy half. They're attacking Aidan Roden, the young lad they had on loan from Wigan, I think he was. They're coming straight at you out of dummy half. The Bradford players, they're still on the floor, they're struggling to get back. And that ultimately is the only way you can win at Odsal. Unless you're completing at high 90s and you're waiting on mistakes from your opponents where you're going to have a scrum 40 out, 30 out from your opponent's line. The only way you can win on that pitch, and I've spoken to a number of coaches trying to get my head around it to educate myself, is literally momentum and down the middle.
Yeah.
Which is why you're seeing a very athletic, a very different Bradford Bulls. But people saying Bradford have recruited well. Listen, I'm not criticising the recruitment. I think it's been fantastic with what they've done. We know the investor is waiting and the money is going to come in, and that's going to be a real feel-good day when the Bradford club announce the money on the investor. But at this moment in time, Craig, yes, Michael Lawrence, Bodie Thompson, Jack Walker, Brad Foster, it's Tom Holmes. It's looking absolutely rosy as rains, and like Mark said, there's still 2 or 3 more to come from Super League. It really is optimism around the place.
Well, plus your youngsters you've got, which is amazing, isn't it?
Your Miles Lawfords, George Flanagan Juniors, your Harry Grays, your Marcus Greens, all coming through. Jaden Myers, all coming off that conveyor.
Well, can we give George House a plug? Our show is a plug.
He said Harry Gray, to be fair. We've got
the other 2.
Jaden Barracle. They're still a bit young.
No, he's not young.
I'm not throwing a Jaden Barracle thing, but...
No, there's another 2, we think...
I know, Craig, but no, just hear me out. The pressure is on Mark to turn those narrow defeats to your Barrows into wins. Bradford, if they sort the home form out, Craig, they'll be top 4. They'll have a home playoff, and who knows what's going to happen.
We said the other day, Mick, about players and clubs wanting to come out and say they can take St Helens on and take, let's say you bring Toulouse up there and Fed. Don't be scared of telling it, I'm not having this anymore. If I'm not a club who's saying we can beat Saints this year, get off. Go and park up down at thing and get it championship 1 or whatever and just concede, because if you're not in it, Jake Connor gets a lot of stick and he's historically on this programme. I don't know why, we give him loads of toffee. Jake did a thing on YouTube, on Huddersfield Giants thing this week, and I thought it was brilliant. He said, why can't we win it? He actually says, why can't we win it? Where you're looking for someone to win, why can't Huddersfield be in that? And people say, it's because you're not consistent, Jake, and people slag him off. I admire he's got balls to do it. He's actually got balls to stand up and say something, which I can't stand anymore. People not saying they can't win it. Bradford should come out now and say, we can win this. Oh, we're scared of.
Jack Walker did in an interview I did.
He does anyway. He won't give a monkeys. He'll say, let's go.
Jack says,
I'm best player, that's why we'll win it. That's what he'll say.
Jack's interview that I did with him a couple of weeks ago, it was, we are building a culture here on the back of your Michael Lawrence, your Bodie Thompson, your Tom Holmes, that word. I mean, I know Jack wasn't at Bradford last year, but Jack's all too aware from what other people have told him about what happened last year. But look, going back to the question, what Josh asked, I've got comfortably a top 4: Toulouse, Featherstone, Bradford, Halifax, and then you're going to have that mixture of clubs which will be York, Winders, Keighley, Barrow, London, Newcastle. And I've said that to 3 championship coaches. I've not spoken to Mr. Henderson at York. He probably will disagree with having York outside that top 4. But that is what I've gone with. That's what I'm sticking with.
But there's no way York don't think they can win it if they've got anything about them. If they don't say that, get them out. Like I keep saying, I'm sick of it. If you don't think you can beat Toulouse or Featherstone, there's never been a better time to beat Toulouse and Featherstone. Toulouse are recruited what? What they recruited?
Craig, the championship is wide open next
100%.
year. It's wide open.
Featherstone are not in the I'm not reading Featherstone. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Because
so why
Mark Campbell knows the door. The championship clubs know, Craig. Whoever goes up is more than likely getting thrown straight back out.
I get you. So
We're
why
gonna have
not win
one
it?
year in
Eh?
the Super
Why
League.
not tick the box anyway and go and win it?
Yeah, exactly.
And say, okay, we'll have a year there. Let's have a year in. You know what? A year can be a lifetime. If I were a club this year, Featherstone have never been in Super League since it started. This is their chance. Toulouse have done it. Bradford have not been there for how long have you been out of Super League?
Since 2014.
Well,
Getting up for a decade.
even if you're only there for 1 year, get up for 1 year. York have never done it in 20 odd years. Get York up there. No, why are they not believe? I'd be sat there and I hate it because I'm watching more and more sports overall. They call it the year. They say at the start of the year, hey, 2023 is our year, it's playoff, it's fine. Go in and be excited by playing. So, do you know what? If somebody said to me, well, what's use of winning it? We'll get chucked out anyway. Year after, I'd say, get out. Get out of my room.
Well, that's a pessimistic viewpoint, but
Yeah.
the reality is, the striking reality is, whichever championship goes up, we're going undergraded. We're no longer going over league positions.
I'm going to challenge you.
There's a chance they're going to go out.
3 best times of Mick, since I've known you, the 3 best times of your life. Beating Leeds, one of the greatest moments of the one of the pieces of the
yes.
one of the greatest piece of commentaries I've ever heard. You and Melissa, I were in Ireland at the famous K Club and I saw the magic, and your emotions that day was on a planet. I'm going to test you, Mick. Your emotions will be bigger if Bradford win this next year, whether you're on it for a year. I think you'd be sat there going, we've done it, I can't believe we're back in Super. Mick, that could be big. That story alone's bigger than anything you've done.
I don't disagree.
Do you know what I mean?
And on the back of the shit show that was last year,
Yeah.
the transformation and the culture.
And the bankruptcies and the terrible running of your club. But guess what, Mick? Believe they can do it.
Right.
I'd like to be there. I'd like to go on Odsal Topping, end of year, you've got 2 games to win it. There could be 10,000 at Odsal.
I'm going to ask you both an honest question here. We know Gary and Nigel are close. We know Rowan and Mark are close. Putting pressure on you guys because the players that Bradford are going to get from Leeds are all show me players. How important? No, look, I'm just calling it out. I know which Leeds players are coming. You know which Leeds players are coming.
Well, Rowan tells us off because he said, how do you know more than me? He texted me 2 weeks ago. He said, stop saying that. How do you know more than me?
Well, listen, look.
I'll let you work that out, Rowan.
Look, we're not going to mention
We're
any
kidding,
names.
kidding.
Rowan, we know you watch the show. Mark, we know you watch the show. We're not mentioning any names. But as we know who's coming, how important is that partnership going to be, Craig, to getting Bradford into Super League?
I don't know whether it ever works. So bringing in people on short term, don't know whether that. I'm still half and half on that. I think if they get them for season-long loans for a year, you've got a chance.
There's one coming on, Pete.
Yeah, I think a season long with only a call back to first team is fantastic. I think it's all whether the players buy into it. I think it's the individual players. If you get a player who don't want to be there, so just to give people a little idea, we might do 10 of these a year. I'll guarantee there'll be 5 of them who don't want to go. They're probably a waste of space. It never happens anyway. If you've got somebody who genuinely wants to do it, I always said one of the best ones we've done, in my humble opinion, was Mikey Lewis to Newcastle, because Mikey wanted to show the world how good he was. He went to Newcastle and tore the art. He tore it out. Yeah. He did 12 games there, absolutely put he became a star. Newcastle uplifted there. Look how Newcastle Sunday were people watch Newcastle.
Yeah, because of
Mikey Lewis winning it.
Playing without structure, playing what he says.
Ben Curry once went to Swinton and for a couple of games it was just like watching scoring tries every week.
Are those the examples then? There's
been some. If you've got a shocker, you'll have a nightmare because they come.
You've got a young Leeds player. You're going to Bradford.
Well, it didn't work. Let me tell you something. It didn't work for Bradford, in my opinion, when they took
Alice.
No, Mikelai and Cameron.
Yeah.
But it worked for the long term. It worked for the players because they both said they got loads out of it. But I didn't think at the time it meant Bradford a better team. Bradford were a bit in the whatever going through, and to bring young lads into that environment,
and I think
wasn't the greatest thing to do. And the pressure on them lads of being the saviour of Bradford were ridiculous. If you're bringing in, and I'll tell you an interesting player, we'll use it. Rowan's watching it. Let's say Levi. Now, Levi might be going York, he might go Bradford, he might stay at Leeds, he might go to whatever, Featherstone. Let's say there's all...
Levi Edwards we're talking about.
Now, Levi this year, with a year under his bag, will be a hell of a player. You're talking, he'll probably be top 4 or 5 centres, in my opinion, in the comp. So if I thought I could get Levi, knowing he's had 12 months, that first year he played out of his skin, this year he'll kill it. So if you said Levi could go somewhere to one of them clubs on a 12-month callback for Super League, yes, it'll make a massive difference to that club. That's my opinion. If you're talking about a young lad under that, no, 'cause it takes them a long time. If you're talking, let's say Leeds, Rowan said, we're going to allow, you're not going to allow Morgan Gannon, but allow, give us a name. Give us a name, what, Rowan, who's on the Levi.
Lewis Roberts.
Tom Allroyd.
Tom Allroyd. No, you won't allow Tom. So Lewis Roberts. If Lewis Roberts were allowed to come to one of them clubs, I'd say Lewis need to make. He wouldn't be a massive thing yet. I think he did well at Swinton. I think he did, in his limited appearance. But you wouldn't be. Lou's not at that stage. Yeah. I thought the young lad Levi. Louis needs a bit of the old Leeds full time.
Corey Johnson. Then we'll move on.
Corey Johnson, super fit, would be a massive asset. Corey Johnson, with the problems he's been having, no. So, Corey, if he's ready to roll, wow. 12 months, 100%. But you're looking at them, or I'm looking at Leeds. Levi would be the one at the moment who I'd be saying, because he's played 15 times.
For York.
And he was outstanding in probably 9 or 10 of them games. He'd be exciting. He'd be somebody you'd be going, he can make a big...
The notion is he goes back to York.
Don't think anything's been done yet, Mick.
You know what I'm saying?
I do this show.
Listen, we've got a lad at Saints. If somebody said to me, George Delaney goes on a 12 months to somewhere,
I'd have him
with a callback, you'd be doing somersaults.
Yeah.
You'd be saying he can make a difference to our ruck speed, and because he's that fast, that twitch. So you'd be saying, if that type of player, and we've done a few from Hull KR. We've done 4 or 5.
Would Mike Rush let Delaney go on a 12-month
Don't know.
to a Bradford or a York?
Don't know. I'd say it'd be brilliant for him. But but let's say Hull KR have got 7 or 8 players. Now, a few of them players won't be ready to do it, Mick. It's too hard for them. And as good as they are, they're probably a bit too hard for him. But if you said to me, so we've sent 2 to Newcastle. I think it's been announced. We can talk about it. Daniel Okora and Conor Moore.
From Hull KR.
To Newcastle, season long. Daniel were building up for me to become a star player. He was getting physical. He got his set on a thing. It was a bit different. He had a fast twitch. He's about, 6'4", 106, 8 kilos. Connor's ready now. He's played 3 or 4 first team. Yeah. Played a bit of championship. They will have a big impact. If they don't, let's be honest. Let's be brutally honest. If they don't, UKR release them anyway. I'm being brutal here.
Yeah, they've got to have that impact that Mikey Lewis had.
You've got it. Oh, they're gone.
I get it.
I'll tell you now.
The pressure on those young players now to perform for Newcastle.
You've got it.
Is
both ways.
Yeah.
If they don't go there and kill it, they will go back and they'll say, I'm sorry. So, do you know why a lot of young players don't like going out, Mick? They don't like to be in firing line. They're scared.
They know it's shit or bust, yeah.
Yes.
They know it's sink or swim.
Yes. And I've seen a load of times when first team coach has gone to Bradford, he's gone to Feth, he's gone to Doncaster, he's gone to Hunslet, he's gone to there. And they sit there, and I've seen the faces, Mick, look absolutely devastated because they know, guess what they know? They know the player's not good enough. And we all know. We're all sat with them. You're like that. You realise this kid's looked at you and gone, this is not for me, son. This is just not for me. And so it's daunting, Mick, for a player to do that. Your big thing at Bradford, in my humble opinion.
Don't say
you've lost Thomas. Yeah. Thomas Doyle will be massive for you because I thought he was emerging as one of the best. Thomas Doyle left to Keighley. For me, is a big loss for Bradford.
Big loss, yeah.
I talked to Keighley the other day and he said, name a player. He says, mate, Thomas Doyle is absolutely outstanding.
He will be so integral to success at
Keighley. And you've lost him. You've got a couple of the Bradford lads who've been brought in the hookers. If the hookers can play, and I don't know whether Deck and Tom will ever play together. They both like a lot of ball. I know they both want the ball.
I know Jordan Lilly is happy to move into that
hooker role,
which I would do because it's got speed and a bit more agility.
But Jordan also likes to kick himself. He likes to. You're probably going to have what the mechanics usually. The one I like. I don't mind a Tom Holmes or a Deck, and a hooker who wants a bit of Paul McShane. If I've got a running 6, that running 6 has to be somebody who's not bothered about ball. Danny Maguire, but I'll score you 30 tries. But I'm not bothered. I don't want. We call it the split. I reckon Deck would want 75% of any ball. I reckon Jordan would want 30% of any ball, even at hooker. Tom Holmes probably wants 60, 70. That don't work into 100.
No.
So you
Hardly
need,
works into 200.
yeah, you need, for me, I wish Bradford had
What would Luke Gale want percentage-wise?
90, probably everything. You're buying a player who could win it, in my opinion, and win it.
And that's
If he stayed injury-free,
Yeah.
you people will say, oh...
I've had this conversation, Craig, with many people.
He's a league above, isn't he?
Luke Gale, you'll know when it's happening, if it's happening, if Luke Gale does get any offers.
He's got the offers. They're all in, ready to go.
For the championship.
Yeah, massive. Ready to. It'll be on by next Friday. It'll all be out. He had one in NRL, which has fell through. He's had 3 in Super League. I'll be honest with you at the moment, and this, I hope he allows me to say this. We're going to say it anyway. He's been on roof all week with his brother.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I so admire you. Because he just gets his thing on, his text video for us, he's laughing, he's on roof with snow. But one thing it's done, it's made him realise, he said to me, Craig, I'm actually happy as though his brother's got a good, successful business. He's earned just as much money. He's on at 5 o'clock, and he said, you know what? He never thought he'd go part-time. Wow. I think he'd walk away. I thought he would walk away. I think he would go part-time. So the club who can put up and want that type of player, but yeah, he'd want a bigger split than anybody, wouldn't he? He dominates.
I think I know a club. Sorry. So what you're saying, because fans will listen to this and they'll be like, you're saying next Friday,
Yeah.
leading it to Christmas Eve, Luke Gale will sign with a...
No, I'm not saying to be a club. If Super League comes up and we're waiting for the right Super League deal. But he said to me this week, he said, look, I've had another perspective. I'm all right. I've enjoyed getting up at 6:30 with lads.
Draft, yeah.
He says, best crack ever in van with lads. I love the thing. He said, you know what, Craig? I think I could do that. And if that's what... Luke wants to go into media. He wants to go into doing the stuff for Sky. He's been offered a little bits and bobs. Yeah. He's gonna do a bit of thing. If that all worked, I think he would go part-time. I never thought I'd say that.
Wow. So there you go, a bit of a full 80 exclusive update on Mr. Gale and the situation. But yeah.
Because his other choices, if you look at it, a lot of the halfbacks at the moment, and we didn't start recruiting till late for Luke because we thought he was going to stay at Hull, whatever reasons that was. But they've all gone on number 1, 2, most of them got a 3. So everyone's already put the money into a 1, they've put the money into a 2, and 90% have put it into a 3, or they've got a young kid coming up.
Yeah.
So at the moment, without injuries, they've all got 3, probably 4. So what would Luke rather do? If I said this to him, we were laughing. If you went as a number 3, Luke Gale, he's done enough in game to probably not want to do that. In his own way, he might go, I could do it, but it'd have to be, I think that'd have to be a top 3 club to accept being a number 3. Would the challenge be better saying, have this club ever gone to Super League? Would that be big? Probably is. Probably is saying, does he want to finish last 2 years going, can I, could you see Luke Gale being lifted off at Odsal last game of the season?
I said it, Craig. Look.
Elliot Whitehead saying, if you get Super League, I'm coming. James Donaldson saying, I'm coming. John Bateman saying, I'm coming.
Craig. Look, Luke's 34. It's a high-risk signing. If you get a fully fit Luke Gale, he could be that all-important cog in making that step up from Champ to Super League. If you get a Luke Gale then that's plagued with injuries, it's a costly... And that's the gamble. That's the gamble.
It is. Let me tell you something about Luke Gale.
And that's the gamble Bradford are going to have to make.
But let me tell you something about Gale. If he did get to a stage where the injuries was, he's got too much pride. He just walk away, Mick. He don't need it that much. Some players would say, I'll get 2 years out of it on one leg.
Oh, I know, yeah.
He just won't. You know what he'd do? He said it to me. He just said, listen, I'm not going to cost you that money. I'm all right. Give me an hug, and I'm gone. If he couldn't be the best player, Luke, to be an halfback at his level, and he's done it at the top table for 10 years, your ego's bigger than your head. He ain't allowing some league championship saying this guy's shit. Not a chance. Do you know what I mean? He's not allowing you to take down. What, a young kid worked his arse off to get to, got at Leeds to Doncaster to London to Bradford to Cass to England to World Cup final, Man of Steel. Do you think he's going to let that go in 1 year by getting hammered because he's not fit? Luke's always fit. You know what I mean? And if the injuries got too bad, I think he's a big enough lad to say, do you know a lot of the older players who play on, Mick? 2 things. 1, they never achieved it anyway. They haven't been that player. And 2, they're skint. Do you get me? So when you get a player who your fans go, oh no, He's a right waste of money. Usually he's looking at you going, I know somebody, I need another 2 year out of it. You get me? How many players have you using at Bradford?
Oh, yeah.
I think, without being disrespectful to him, one of the most historic one was, I never thought we saw the best of Matty Orford. Can you remember when he come?
Yes.
And we thought he was going to be the best signing ever. He come from Manly, that great team at Manly, and he didn't look the same player, did he?
No. There were mental health issues, and it was very difficult time for player and club. Right,
All the best, Matty.
it's been
Stop there.
no.
Oh.
We can do that on a separate bit. What I want for you lovely people for next week is any questions, put them in the comments now. We'll go through those next week and we'll do our hero and villains of 2022. Robert Elston had won the villain of the year the last 2 years, so we know he can't make it a hat trick because he's out of the spot. So I'm going to think long and hard. Who's my villain of 2022? Who's the hero? And we'll next week we'll have a bit of a fun. Maybe even I'll write 10 questions and do a bit of a Christmas quiz before we wrap up 2022. But yeah, it's been fun.
Good.
Yeah. So I'll let Joe and Craig think about their hero and villains for next week. I'm going to seriously think long and hard.
Can Joe put his dad as his hero?
He can do if he wants. Craig, can I just say, if Luke Gale's at Odsal next Friday at press conference, hero of 2022, the show, people are already calling them the Show Me Bulls.
You said that.
But no, next week I might even wear the Christmas jumper and we might even have a can of beer and we'll let her hair down and maybe get a little bit silly. Who knows? But yeah. Don't forget more content coming out during the week. There's going to be a Hull KR and Castleford season preview. And you have my word on this. In 2023, we will start doing Halifax, Bradford, York, Keighley, Barrow. We'll start doing a championship preview and then League One preview. We'll do the hard graft and get the knowledge for you. But yeah, any questions you want to ask either of us? Jimmy's not back next week, is he? No. Let us know in the comments and we will ask those questions. So yeah, YouTube comments first. You'll get the privilege of any questions and queries you want answering. Thank you for joining us. It's been a full 80 minutes of Show Me the Rugby League TV. Don't forget to subscribe, share, give it a thumbs up, tell your friends about us. I know a lot of people watch the show on the screen with a glass of red. So there you go. To you lovely people, I salute you. It's bloody freezing here in North Yorkshire and you're at home with eating on, so good night, God bless.